I watched my friend get shot in the neck. Yeah, that's what happened. I just want to say that he was publicly executed again before the world. The question is why, right?
September 10th. The air seems electrified as if something monumental is about to happen, but the sky appears normal. Eager to be a part of history, thousands of people cram themselves into the quad shoulder to shoulder, chanting, waving hats, and live streaming the event. This speech isn't limited to the campus. The spectacle is intense. The bizarre, frantic scene that America always seems to be attracted. Charlie Kirk is positioned in the middle, composed and self-assured, controlling the stage as if it were his arena. He cut the air with his hands. His voice was authoritative and polished. He was the only one who could deliver a punchline with each phrase. The audience is enthralled, paying attention to every word, believing they are seeing power at work. Then suddenly, the sky is split for a heartbeat by a deafening crack. No one moves. I don't know what just occurred. Then everything goes haywire. Panic rages like wildfire as a spooky sound reverberates. Screams echo across the air, heads turn, and people flee in utter bewilderment. As a dark red stain appears on his collar, Charlie lurches sideways and tumbles out of his chair. The whole scenario abruptly shifts from jubilation to disaster. The stage is rushed by security. Under chairs, fans scuttle.
Whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay? And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place within.
In an attempt to escape the craziness, people stumble and push. 01 to 50, in a matter of seconds, that once positive rally becomes a nightmare. Live streamed by trembling voices and shaky hands throughout the world. Phones record everything. The astonishment, the tears, the shock. History then begins to change in real time. This is more than just mayhem. It's functionality, it's shock and spectacle combined, creating a nightmare of viral content that exploded on all feeds. Some claim it was just a single assailant in plain sight. Others, however, hint at something more sinister, as if this were only the beginning of a much larger scheme. Silence never lasts long, but the country is holding its breath. Suspicions begin to spread more quickly than news. The focus then shifts to one individual, Charlie's widow, Erica, initially spotted outside the hospital, then at a memorial with candles. She is in the spotlight, her face serene, her eyes nearly dry, every move deliberate, as the cameras zoom in like hawks. She appears overly planned and polished to many onlookers. Her remark is clear, cool, and professional, and it makes the news like clockwork. She promises that her husband's effort will continue and expresses gratitude to the first responders for their prompt action. I would like to make it obvious that I think I know that Charlie fought for custody of himself toward the end. I would like to state that clearly, and that lies are being told, and they must be stopped immediately. However, that sounds more like strategy to some than pain. Erica's sadness doesn't appear to be shattered or unprocessed. It appears practiced, even old-fashioned. The sort of condolences you might see in an old Hollywood picture. She is flawlessly framed, graceful and unflappable, and she moves like a senator, wife with her chin raised just for the cameras, like she was in a political drama. She is picture-perfect, steady, and composed even when she is going through a difficult time. She protects her 2 children and upholds the impeccable reputation of the business her husband founded. People nearly purchase it for a little period of time. Perhaps this will be a respectable, low-key funeral. But before the funeral flowers even begin to wilt, turmoil breaks out, so that dream is short-lived. Candace Owens arrives like a flash of lightning. Her face suddenly appears everywhere. Her scathing remarks are repeatedly repeated in TikTok loops, which dominate podcasts trending on YouTube thumbnails. Chasing Charlie Kirk's ghost and refusing to let his name fade, her show soars to number 2 on Spotify, exactly after his own position. She is not here to grieve in silence. Her purpose is to shake things up. Candace transforms sorrow into conflict. Each episode has the tone of a courtroom battle, with questions being asked and accusations like, "Who betrayed Charlie Kirk?" They're also telling lies about Charlie Kirk. Her ferocious and passionate voice, which alternates between rage and grief in an instant, breaks through the cacophony. Then she delivers the shocking revelation that shakes the world. She implies that Charlie's pillow, who lived in his own house, betrayed him. That single line is like a clap of thunder. Although she doesn't give Erica's name, everyone is aware of who she is implying. Candace is an expert at the game. She challenges the public to fill in the spaces by hurling insults without naming anyone. With millions of people analyzing every word, every pause, and every glance, the tension erupts online. This child isn't militarily trained, are you telling me? To begin with, how did this person get to the roof? Why wasn't anyone looking? Why didn't anyone point out that he could see those roofs directly from where he was sitting? None of you checked. No drone is in your possession. As if that were crazy. He's on the roof then, he fires. From the roof, he leaps. He leaps down 4. The nation is currently viewing a split screen. On the one hand, Erica appears calm and composed, exemplifying poise. Candace's eyes, on the other hand, were burning with conviction and hot and passionate. It's order versus disorder, control versus indignation. And all of a sudden, their disagreement is more than just rumors. It's hard to ignore this public quarrel at its worst. Here's the twist, though. Not only did Candace Owens lose a friend, but she also lost prestige. She was kicked out of Turning Point USA years ago for remarks so vehement they rocked conservative media. That banishment still stings. Now that she's back in the spotlight, she's prepared to reveal what she refers to as the fairy tale surrounding Charlie Kirk's enigmatic demise. In addition to being personal, the drama is political, intense, and unavoidable. For example, the more people continue to investigate, this doesn't feel like a real one. It feels really manufactured, they say more and more. But here's the point. It's all part of the strategy, just like I mentioned when people argue on social media. Tyler Robinson, the alleged attacker, doesn't even make sense in Candace's account of events. She states unequivocally that there is no verifiable video of him acting in any way. Rather, she depicts a terrifying figure on a rooftop, outfitted like a character from a deep state thriller or spy film. According to her, it's too neat, too dramatic, and almost like a set designed by professionals. Candace doesn't end there either. She makes more accusations, claiming that the FBI is forcing Utah officials to complete the case quickly and to seal the material before anyone has a chance to pose meaningful questions. She identifies what she describes as massive holes in the official narrative. What witnesses reported does not match the alleged weapon. The suspect in custody doesn't even match what witnesses at the scene claim to have seen. And the projectiles that were discovered were too damaged to track. The entire situation seems to her like a stage cleanup, a cover-up intended to reassure the public. Here's what gives Candace her strength, though. She is a creature of uncertainty. She doesn't require flawless evidence. She thrives on mystery. Every gaping element and unsolved query becomes a part of her narrative. She urges her listeners to make the connections on their own. This is what draws folks in. She uses what appears to be chaos as a tactic. She is grieving for more than simply Charlie Kirk. She is enlisting believers and creating an internet movement driven by fervor and distrust. Toast. She did not. However, advocate for war. Erica didn't demand war. What was so beautiful about her was that she actually did the exact opposite. It was unthinkable. The courage it required for her to ask for forgiveness and the forgiveness she gave. It simply isn't comparable. And it had a significant impact. And when I tweeted that, I meant it. It was, in my opinion, the most speech that had a significant impact on American history. Charlie's own podcast, meantime, has become a digital landmark, rising to the top of all platforms. Conservative power figures like Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, and J.D. Vance are now frequently featured in the episodes, offering their respects and vowing to continue the tradition. Their tone is composed, formal, accepted by the establishment, and the epitome of dignified sorrow. Candace, however, is not going to allow anyone else to steer the story. Her performance is burning just behind him. Emotionally charged, raw, and loud. She isn't following a script. She's talking about fire. That unwavering message and defiance permeate every episode. Kirk has a close friend that is more knowledgeable than they are, and that is what makes her unique. As the others grieve, she's searching for secrets. Like a woman who will not be hushed, she exudes an electric intensity and speaks in a shrill, trembling voice. Interests. She even mentions billionaire Bill Ammon, claiming that during a covert Hampton meeting, he made grave threats. Instantly responding, Ammon posts courteous text messages with Kirk that are devoid of drama, adamant that at no time have I ever threatened Charlie. Nevertheless, the internet is ablaze with speculations, screenshots, and suspicions that are flying in all directions. The situation then worsens when Benjamin Netanyahu intervenes and is compelled to make two denials. The reports of any Israeli involvement, he says, are crazy and absurd. However, those denials don't end the story, which is the crazy part for Candace's admirers. They further detonate it. Her audience gets more involved the louder she pushes back. It seems like evidence that someone is attempting to conceal the truth in every rejection. Like fuel on a digital fire, the fixation becomes uncontrollable. Behind the scenes, however, the conservative world begins to show signs of weakness. And well, he was put to death in public. I want to be clear about that. Charlie Kirk was put to death in front of everyone. Furthermore, the answers that are being given to us don't make much sense as we're all looking for them. Additionally, I believe that certain people speak excessively and on behalf of others. Former Turning Point USA Advisory Board member Eric Bowling acknowledges that Kirk and Candace had a falling out years ago. Her ideas grew too radical and risky for the brand, he says, calling it a silent break. Charlie claimed that although he remained courteous, the friendship ended. That disconnect now feels like a wound that never healed, from intimate allies to uncomfortable handshakes at public gatherings. Things have gotten nasty now that Candace is yelling from outside the castle walls. She has absolutely nothing to do with Erica Kirk, and there was resentment in that void has begun to expand. This no longer feels like a quarrel between old friends. It seems like an insider who was shut out is rebelling. The digital battleground continues to grow. Viral videos, live streaming, and podcasts become contemporary battlegrounds. When the news of Charlie's attack breaks mid-show, even Joe Rogan, who is typically the laid-back king of cool, loses his composure. He doesn't begin making outrageous statements. Rather, he strikes with the one lethal question that silences everyone. How can an inexperienced child climb a roof, assemble sophisticated gear, and execute a flawless hit in broad daylight without anyone noticing? Everything changes with that one line. Rogan's enormous fan base follows suit. Trust in Utah police and the FBI abruptly declines. Confusion becomes the nation's most valuable commodity, and doubt becomes money. As all of this mayhem plays out, Erica Kirk makes an effort to remain calm. She stands resolutely next to her two children at a candlelit vigil at the Kennedy Center, expressing gratitude to Congress and promising to carry on her husband's legacy. She speaks in a steady, nearly indefatigable tone. However, criticism flares up once more, right when it looks like she's at peace. From within the religious community itself this time. Charlie Kirk's own pastor, Rob McCoy, who also serves as co-chair of the faith division at Turning Point, finally speaks up. He calls Candace Owens out by name on social media and even in the pulpit. His voice trembles with intensity as he maintains that despite their disagreements, Charlie never treated Candace disrespectfully. McCoy implores her to put an end to the gossip, to be kind, to treat Charlie with respect rather than making his story into a farce. He claims that Charlie would never have treated Candace or her family this way if the tragedy had been hers. The message was meant to calm the storm, but it only fans the flames. Candace returns with a bang, sharing videos, live streams, and ferocious monologues in which she warns against asking questions about what actually happened to Charlie. Candace always posts a bomb online when Erica Kirk speaks calmly about peace, hope, and preserving her husband's purpose. Her videos hit like a digital war drum, garnering millions of views. She says, "Silence equals complicity," and her followers echo it across every platform. Her message is sharp and simple. The real scandal isn't the attack itself, but how fast the establishment wants everyone to move on. The entire narrative is now divided, a country split. Erica is standing on one side, poised and composed, refusing to fall for the ruse. Candace, on the other side, is ferocious and unrelenting as she yells into the microphone that everything is a cover-up. You can't turn your head away. There is a hypnotic contrast. Who is the genuine one? Who is the virtuous one? Is genuine sadness so loud that it shakes the system, or is it quiet? Candace yells that the most dangerous thing right now is allowing this story to go away, while Erica murmurs about faith and legacy. And Turning Point USA comes back to life as if nothing had ever happened, before the dust has even covered the discolored grass in the Utah Valley. The American Comeback Tour never takes a break. With lights, speeches, and hashtags flying nonstop, it continues to roll bigger and flashier than before. There is only motion and spectacle. No morning time, no research, no group contemplation. An intense tryout for the next conservative superstar replaces what was meant to be a moment of silence. Big names light up the stage. With assured smiles, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Vivek Ramaswamy all step in and pretend to be carrying Charlie's torch. But it's felt by all. They're not merely paying tribute to him. His title is up for grabs. there has been no slowdown in the migration. In front of the entire globe, it has turned into a live power grab. One by one, they marched in, attempting to be Charlie Kirk rather than merely paying tribute to him. Commentators were unreserved. They referred to it as Kirk cosplay. You can't unsee it once you hear that phrase. Kirk's former allies were seated along the platform under enormous banners featuring his beaming face's face, promising to continue his mission. But it was visible if you looked closely enough. Every tribute has that glimmer of ambition hidden underneath it. The torch was raised slightly by each speaker. The volume of each voice increased slightly as if they were trying out for the crown. The entire event began to resemble a competition rather than a remembrance. Charlie's absence became an opening on the ladder to success, and the tribute morphed into aspiration, authority, and all desired to join. The most bizarre incident occurred during Kirk's formal memorial service at State Farm Stadium in Arizona. Despite the crowds, it didn't feel like mourning. It had the feel of a rally. Banners waving, supporters cheering, cameras everywhere, as if branding had taken the place of mourning. When Tucker Carlson mounted the podium, he gave a eulogy that defied all social norms. He did more than simply conflate politics and religion. He sprinted right through it. Tucker implied that truth-tellers inevitably suffer consequences when he likened Kirk's destiny to Jesus. Then the mysterious Tucker twist appeared. He made a joke about a group of men eating hummus while they tried to figure out how to handle this man who was being honest. Tucker was in his best form. Sharp enough to raise suspicion, vague enough to evade accountability, a warning, a wink to his base, to all the others. Any sense of unity vanished by the end of that speech. Grief was not uniting the conservative movement. It was disintegrating. Ownership of Kirk's name, brand, and ghost was desired by all factions. What began as a legacy became leverage. Kirk's narrative was no longer merely a cause. It served as a power-propped-up battle disguised as a tribute. And the voices became darker behind the bright lights. Once more focusing on billionaire Bill Ammon, Candace Owens portrayed him as the shadowy puppet master. She informed her audience that Kirk was called to a private Hamptons meeting as part of a purportedly amicable intervention because of his shifting views on Israel and Netanyahu's conflict in Gaza. "What happened that night," she said, "wasn't a conversation. In a courteous way, it was a warning." As usual, Candace never named but always suggested, leaving just enough room for interpretation to maintain her untouchability. They sowed the seed. The concept became viral on the internet. Ammon responded right away, displaying warmth and respect by sharing screenshots of his texts with Charlie. No drama, no threats, just typical political discourse. Executive producer Andrew Cole of Turning Point also supported him, describing the Hamptons encounter as friendly and successful. Not at all like the sinister plot Candace told. Here's the twist, though. Even denials seem like narrative twists in this environment. Every time someone pushes back, Candace's audience sees it as evidence of their case. Every response, in their opinion, is not definitive. It's proof that the cover-up is more extensive. Each purported receipt just serves to increase suspicion, as if someone is putting forth extra effort to hide the reality. Furthermore, there are now more than one billionaire involved. Charlie Kirk's fluctuating views on Israel served as a catalyst for unrest within the conservative community. Whispering began. Were funds being exchanged? Was there a pull on support? Weren't visible. Are those in positions of power choosing who is heard and who is not? That paranoia spread like fuel on a flame. All of a sudden, right-wing podcasts became virtual battlefields. Each host was trying to out-scheming the others in an attempt to get blood. Some claimed that Kirk had offended the wrong people, and that his shift in opinion was the true cause of his targeting. Others accused influencers of exploiting his tragedy for clicks and influence, calling it blatant opportunism. Complete anarchy was the outcome. A bewildering hall of mirrors emerged from the movement. A new evil appears in every mirror. Every denial feeds a new rumor. Every exclusive source has a unique story to tell. To calm the situation, even Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had to intervene once more and reiterate his denials. However, it was ineffective. Every word was turned into fresh evidence by the internet that something more significant was being concealed. Lawmakers began to voice their opinions since everything became so out of control. Denters, billionaires, foreign leaders, and podcasters were all silenced by an infamous online watchdog site that started tracking, flagging, and preserving people's posts. Suddenly, everyone was embroiled in the same tumultuous information war about Charlie's legacy. Furthermore, the man had not yet been buried. The true collapse was taking place covertly within the Kirk family, despite the media screaming about international intrigue itself. Even Charlie's parents and a few in-laws, according to those familiar with the matter, started chatting behind closed doors. They questioned whether Erica was concealing something or if her composure was too well executed and flawless, or if her words were too slick to be genuine. Others in the family strongly objected, claiming that the rumors were repulsive and that the children's safety and the remaining tranquility should be the main priorities. Tension, no official pronouncements, no police complaints. When mistrust meets sadness, there's that awkward, icy stillness that lingers. It must seem like the ultimate trap to Erica. On the one hand, Candace Owens and her enormous fan base are pursuing her on the internet. On the other hand, she is surrounded by family members and a movement that is making her suffering a public spectacle. Every single thing she says is criticized online. Each image is examined. Every grin turns into a news story. "It was blunt," said Eric Bowling, who was still close enough to Turning Point to comment authoritatively. Owens has always been down the rabbit holes. He said, uttered the alarming words, "She was cut out for a reason." Not just because she was unpredictable, but because she was a grenade thrown into an already fragile scene. It is not only about Candace. It is also about the peril of a movement that thrives on its own disorder. Even the quietness of the Kirk family no longer feels like quiet sadness. It is akin to self-defense, as if they were erecting walls for defense honor, but to endure the chaos outside. Or perhaps the internal strain. Additionally, Erica now runs the risk of having her public remarks, vows, and serene promises to continue Charlie's work interpreted in two different ways. Either as the final flourish or as the unsettling quiet before a more powerful storm. Candace Owens continues to increase the intensity and the tension as eulogies become performances and podcasts compete for the largest audience. She informs her millions of followers that this is corruption at the federal level. Not just a tragedy. She accuses the FBI of forcing Utah officials to blame Tyler Robinson, a convenient scapegoat for Charlie Kirk's death, and that the entire case is a high-level conspiracy. Candace uses every contradiction to support her theory, even when there are holes in the evidence and conflicting eyewitness reports. She ticks off items on her list. There is no confirmed video showing Robinson on the roof, timelines don't square up, and witnesses claim the assailant was fully outfitted. Not only are they concealing the facts, but they are also constructing the cover-up, according to her scathing remarks. She uses each omitted detail to support her claim that influential people are tugging cords in the background. In one of her most popular live streams, she says, "We know who did this." Additionally, they are shielding the guilty parties. The assertion is powerful, and the internet is ablaze with theories, whether they are based on strategy, speculation, or something deeper. The storm just gets louder as the first week goes on. Erica and Candace are no longer the only rivals. The conservative world is divided in two by this full-scale civil war. On the internet, it appears to be trench warfare in digital form. Videos of Erica's composed, serene remarks are trending alongside.